What is up, everyone? It is David Mailer here, the Man on Fire Mentor. And today, yes, today, we are going to be covering one of my favorite topics. And it has to do with living in your head and how it is destroying your life. And I have lots to tell you about this one, guys, because this is one of my specialties. In fact, Man on Fire, for those of you that don't know anything about who we are, we specialize in helping a man have mastery over his mind, meaning tame the ego, tame the pirates, tame the voice, and take back control of your mind, take back control of your ship, being the captain of your own mind, the captain of your own ship. And why? Why is this so important? And we're going to dive deeply into why this is so important to you guys. Well, number one, it is said that many relationships, especially with your significant other, in our case, we call our wives, we call the woman in our life, we call her our queen. It's infectious for me. It's something that I do. It's what's real for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's totally okay. But to me, my wife is my queen. And one of the number one reasons why a relationship will suffer or why it will come to an end, separation into possible divorce, is when she can no longer feel you. And when a woman can't feel you, it's very challenging for her to trust you. It's also challenging for her to trust in herself, trust in her own intuitive guidance, trust in her own knowing, because she feeds off of the environment and you're a part of her environment. You're a part of her world. And when you're in your head, she can't really sense where you're at, which makes it challenging for her to gauge her own self and for her to gauge her own feelings, her own emotions. It's almost like she's bouncing off her feelings against a wall where there's no consciousness within the wall. It's just concrete. And so you guys have all heard, or most likely heard, sayings like analysis paralysis or get in your head, you're dead. And what this really means is that as long as you're living in your head, your life is pretty much going to be, at best, a life of neutrality, at best, a life of ordinary, at best, a life that is fair, a life that is good, a life that is bland, a life that is okay. Because living in your mind keeps you in your ego. Living in your mind keeps you maintaining your sense of self, which we call the identity. And this is just a perpetuation of surrendering into the deeper faith of allowing the real you, the most congruent, coherent, aligned version of yourself to emerge. And that version of you is the soul contract of who you signed on to be in this lifetime. But what a man has to do, and we've spoken about this in some of the prior videos on the different social platforms, is a man must accept that courageous challenge of walking the bridge from his personality, his mind, his ego, the social conditioning, the nurturing, into his true nature, into the soul of who he truly was born to be, into the fulfillment of who he is as he agreed to be between himself and his creator. And this is the journey that not many men make. And part of the reason that this happens is because we don't get past our mind. We don't get past our head. And we're swimming, barely treading water, lost in a sea of thoughts. And it is said, I can't prove it. If you want to count, by all means, please do. But it is said that the average person will have somewhere around 50 to 100,000 thoughts per day. Can you imagine that? That your mind is being flooded with 50 to 100,000 thoughts. Now, my question for you guys, and please put this in the comments, how many of those thoughts that are coming to you are uplifting? How many of them are telling you you're amazing, you're extraordinary, you're phenomenal, you're great? How many of those thoughts are telling you, you got this, there's nothing you can't achieve, there's nothing you can't do? How many of those thoughts are building you up? As opposed to how many of those thoughts that are flooding your mind, flooding your head, how many of them are toxic? How many of them are pulling you down, are weighing you down with shame and guilt, the two twin brothers? How many of those thoughts are feeding you things that are harmful to yourself and harmful to somebody else? Whether it's an affair, whether it's going to a strip club, whether it's eating crappy food, whether it's prolonging getting to the gym, how many of those thoughts are truly building you up and reminding you of the greatness, the extraordinary of who you are, as opposed to the thoughts are pulling you down to the bottom of the sea where there's no escape? That is where and why you have sayings like, get in your head, you're dead. In our world, in the Man on Fire world, we call those thoughts the pirates. And in the Man on Fire world, we tell the pirates that they work for us. They have two choices. One, swab the deck. Get to work. You work for me. My thoughts are a humble servant to my heart and my soul. My thoughts are a humble servant to my heart and to my soul. I don't work for my thoughts. I don't work for my mind. My mind works for me. So they have two choices, those pirates. One is swab the deck and get to work, or two, walk the plank. Those are the two choices. But how many of you are actually enslaved, literally enslaved to your own thoughts, if you were to be honest with yourself? And I give the example week in and week out. I say, okay, guys, you're watching Rocky or some movie that's really uplifting, motivating you, reminding you of your greatness. You drop to the ground, you do 20 push-ups, maybe 30, maybe you stretch yourself to 50, you break into a sweat, and you say, starting tomorrow, I'm going to start eating healthy. Starting tomorrow at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., I'm going to the gym. And then what happens? Your best friend, the alarm clock, goes off. And who's up before you? That's right, the pirates in your head, the ego. Those thoughts instantly are plugging you in to, don't worry, hit snooze. You tossed and turned all night long. Your son was up crying, or the dog had diarrhea, or your wife was tossing and turning. I didn't sleep well. You know what? Let me hit snooze. And you hit snooze a few more times. Why? Because the thoughts keep taking over and lying to you. Your thoughts lie to you. And the insanity is you're listening to thoughts that are pulling you down, that are lying to you, that are trying to take you away from your best self, that best version of you, the most congruent, coherent, aligned version of you. And you're actually listening to those thoughts and taking action on those thoughts. I mean, there are some people, I say this with so much reverence and respect and humility, there are people that have taken their life because they believe the thoughts of, I'm not good enough, or my life can't get any better than this, and the pain will never go away, so I might as well end it. Those thoughts are not healthy and not normal. They are insane. But we all have them, but we don't all have to take action on them until you learn to put those thoughts to use, to put them to work for you. You, my friend, are the captain of your ship. You are the captain. This is your boat, your home, your house, your domain. They work for you. You forgot. You keep listening to these thoughts. You keep allowing them to tell you who you are and what to do or what not to do, and it's destroying your life. Are you feeling me on this? Throw me a fire sign. Smash up the like key. Put some comments in there. Do you understand what I'm truly sharing with you right now? You feel my emotion because I know people that are no longer here. I know what the mind can do to people. We've had hundreds of guys come to a Man on Fire 4-day immersion and share that they thought about ending it or tried to end it. And that's because they're believing the thoughts that are in their head. They're literally believing those thoughts and trying to take action on thoughts that aren't even your thoughts, which I'm going to explain in a moment. So what's the antidote? Well, we need to, as men, learn how to have mastery over our mind, how to take back control of our own ship, put the pirates to work, swab the deck, or walk the plank. Those are your two options. Do you feel me on this, guys? You feel the fire on this? Yeah, I'm pissed because people are harming themselves every day. Men are harming themselves in the things and the choices or the lack of choices by listening to their thoughts or taking action or not taking action in a way that's harmful, not just to yourself, but to people that you love and care about, from your children to your wife. I mean, how else could you explain why you would drink yourself into oblivion? How else could you explain why you would end up in a strip club or watching porn or numbing out through alcohol and weed and having affairs, putting white powder up your nose, letting your body go to shame, not crushing it in business and connected to your mission and your purpose? How else do you explain those things? Well, you could say, well, I had a messed up childhood. Yeah, I understand that. You could say a lot of bad things have happened to me in my life. I have a lot of hurts and wounds and traumas. I understand that and I have compassion for that. But that's not why. Those traumas were nothing more than ultimately going to be your fuel to tap into the gift of who you are. The problem is you've been believing your thoughts. The problem is you've been in your head. The problem is you haven't learned how to up-level the quality of your thoughts. Well, what do I mean by that? And before I go further, what are you guys hearing? What are you truly hearing? What's resonating for you? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? What's penetrating you? What's opening you up to a new perspective, a new truth? What are you feeling here? How do you see that this is true in your life? How are your thoughts that have taken over your mind been destroying your life? Is it in your health? Is it in your wealth? Is it in your marriage, your relationships with your children? Is it disconnecting you to your mission and your purpose? These lies, these thoughts that are telling you you can't have it all, do it all, be it all? Telling you can't start that new business? Lying to you, telling you you're unworthy and you're unlovable? None of it's true. None of it is true. Do you feel me on this, guys? None of this is true. So what is true? Well, I went to India many a moons ago with my wife. At the time, she wasn't my wife. And we learned a lot of amazing things there. And one of the things that we learned, which I'll talk about on a future one of these lives, is that the reason that a man suffers is because he avoids his suffering. But we're not going to get into that today. What we are going to talk about is something else that I learned there, which is your thoughts are not your thoughts. Now, that's very confusing. What do you mean my thoughts are not my thoughts? What I mean is this. You are nothing more than an antenna. You are a recipient of thoughts. You are a person that's experiencing experiences. You are a receiver of thoughts. So right now, my favorite radio station is playing. And as soon as I put on my radio and I dial in the exact frequency, let's just say it's 100.3, for those of you that are from New York, then you could understand exactly what I'm talking about. So you tune into the exact frequency, 100.3, Z100. And what happens? All of a sudden you hear the music being played by 100.3 because you've tuned into its frequency. And because you've tuned into its frequency, you now receive the music consistent with that frequency. If you want to hear opera, you got to change the frequency. If you want to hear Spanish music, you got to change the frequency. Different megahertz, you receive different music. Well, if that's true, then it's very possible that the thoughts that I keep receiving is no different than how a radio receives music. The music is always playing. And in order to tune into that radio, I have to be at that frequency. Well, what does that mean? It means that the thoughts that you keep hearing are really thoughts that you keep receiving that are consistent with the current frequency that you reside at as a man. What do you mean, David? What do I mean? I mean that you are receiving the exact thoughts you're receiving consistent with where you're at in your own development, where you're at within your own consciousness, where you're at with your own frequency, right? Maybe some of you have read the book Power versus Force. Power versus Force, and David Hawkins. And you recognize that you could be calibrated. Your consciousness could be calibrated on the tonal scale. Let's call the highest tone is 100, Christ consciousness. And most of us are residing at a very, very, very low level. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So certain thoughts live within a certain frequency. So I'll never forget this. One of our members in our Man on Fire community, he's a part of our inner chamber, which is after you come to your Man on Fire Rising live 4-day immersion, you have the opportunity to join us for a deep dive, year-long journey into your personal growth. And that's called our inner chamber. And one of our members, who's now with us on year number 3, his name is Seth. I'll never forget this. This was roughly 6 months ago. We were at one of the immersions, and he was sharing with the group, and he says, the quality of my thoughts that I receive have changed. I no longer receive the same thoughts. I've been receiving different thoughts. Now, for the new guys in the room that were attending their first immersion, they're like, what is he talking about? And by the end of 4 days, they completely understood what he was talking about. That he, number one, he recognizes that he's not the thinker of his thoughts. He's the receiver of thoughts. And number two, he started to realize that he's now receiving different quality thoughts. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, for example, some of the thoughts that you might receive right now are, I'm not good enough. She'll never forgive me. There's no chance of me growing that business. Being a millionaire or a multimillionaire, that's impossible for me. No, I don't have the proper education. I don't have enough money to go back to school. I don't have enough smarts to accomplish that. These are nothing more than lies that you keep telling yourself because they're thoughts that you keep receiving, but you're receiving them because of the frequency that you're residing at. So what Seth was sharing, and this is something that every man has the capacity and ability to experience, is that as you grow as a man, as you up-level your frequency, as you up-level your consciousness, now all of a sudden what you hear is different. What you're drawn to, the impulses you have, what you're attracting into your life, right? The laws of manifestation changes. So instead of receiving the thought of I'm not good enough, imagine the thoughts that you're receiving is you got this. There's nothing I can't do. There's nothing I can't have. Imagine receiving thoughts of love and gratitude and grace and rapture. Imagine receiving thoughts of how can I serve humanity today? How can I serve another man today? How can I make a bigger impact in the world? Wouldn't it be cool if those were the thoughts you're receiving rather than the thoughts that you're so stuck with? So part of being a man on fire is we have to learn to take back control of our own ship, our own mind. We have to learn how to have mastery over our minds. We have to get back to being decisive, disciplined, direct, determined. We all have that ability to be the captain of our own mind, the captain of our own ship, and be the master of that ship where you're at the helm, you control the rudder, and the ship goes where you take it. But so many of you are lost in a sea of deceit, a sea of thoughts that weren't even produced by you. All thoughts have been thought before. They existed before you were born, and they'll exist when you're gone. You're nothing more than plugging into those thoughts. They're all around you. And based on how you're in your posture, based on your behaviors, based on your frequency, your vibration, your consciousness, that's the quality of the thoughts that you're going to receive. So for example, if you are in a posture where your body is curled over, the thoughts you're receiving are just totally different than if you're standing the way I'm standing right now. Or if you're standing with your arms up in the air and your chin back and your heart lifted, the quality of the thoughts that you will receive are different. So the game that we're playing here, gentlemen, the game that we're after is how to up-level our frequency, how to up-level our consciousness, which I spoke about last week. Because in doing so, then the quality of the thoughts that you receive start to change. So for example, with me in my early 30s, like alcohol and porn, no longer a part of my life. I didn't even have thoughts about that stuff. I didn't even have impulses about that stuff. It wasn't a challenge. I didn't try to mentally challenge myself. Oh, let me give this up. It's not healthy for me. Oh, let me not watch this. I mean, yeah, you can come up with reasons not to do it. And absolutely, you have to develop discipline. But for me, it was more a matter of up-leveling my frequency. my consciousness, where these things I were no longer drawn to and they no longer were calling me to them. So what are you hearing? Put it in the chat. Get vulnerable. Get visible. How are your thoughts destroying your life right now? How has been living in your head destroying you? Is it messed up your marriage where your wife can no longer feel you? She can no longer sense you. She can no longer trust you. No longer be intimate with you. You've already lost her. Has it messed up your relationship with your children or perhaps a parent or a brother or a sister or a relative or a friend, ex-friend? How is living in your head destroying you? Be honest. Be honest about it, guys. The more you give me feedback, the more I'm going to be able to support you, because we pay attention to what you put in the chats on the different social platforms that I'm reaching out to you right now. Let us know. How has you living in your head been destroying you, and in what areas of your life? Because part of what we do at Man on Fire is we support you guys in up-leveling your masculine leadership in the different domains of your life. From your health and your wealth, to your career, to your marriage, which is so sacred in the Man on Fire world. We are here to teach men how to be the guardian, the protector, and the gatekeeper to the feminine heart. And we're also supporting men in up-leveling their leadership when it comes to their true mission and their true purpose. That's why we're here. We're not here to live in a sea of problems, to live in a sea of thoughts. We're here to bring the magnificence of who we are to humanity. We're here to bring our gifts to the world. We're here to turn every hurt and wound and trauma that we've ever had and use that as fuel, use that as leverage to bring more of us to the world, more of us to humanity. Everyone wins when you up-level. Everyone wins when you either get out of your head or you learn to have mastery over your mind, where you put those pirates to work for you. You put those pirates to work for you. So what are you guys hearing? Put it in the chat. Smash up that like key. Throw me some fire signs. Let's help out with the algorithms so more men get exposure to these types of teachings. Right? A real man, a true man, a masculine leader, he uplifts others. You're not here to grow, to leave people behind. You're here to help them rise with you. So if you have friends, if you know someone that can benefit from what I'm sharing, please share this with them. It matters. It matters. Why does it matter? Well, I probably shared this on last week's live. One of the guys in our community, he cared so much about somebody in his family that he brought him to one of our Man on Fire Rising 4-day immersions. Well, why did he do that? Well, 2 weeks prior, that gentleman had attempted to take his life. And why did he do that? Was I shared this I believe a week ago, where he had gotten caught having an affair behind his wife's back, and then was with the terror of no one in the family will like him anymore, no one will love him anymore, and he'll go into this state of being unworthy and feeling unlovable. So what's the point of my life? I might as well leave, because now nobody's going to care about me, nobody's going to ever love me anymore, because look what I did. So the degree of shame, the degree of guilt, the burden that he was carrying, and the thoughts that kept perpetuating and telling him and feeding him lies that no one will ever love you anymore. You might as well end it. You might as well take your life. You might as well check out. You might as well get out of here. You're better off with your insurance policy than you are actually staying alive and cleaning up your life. And this is where the mind takes us. This is where living in your head destroys you, where you could actually consider hanging yourself or cutting your wrists or swallowing pills or burning yourself or whatever it is, jumping off of a bridge. I mean, guys, I'm with you, how much pain you must be in for that to happen, but you must understand, do not believe your mind, do not believe your thoughts. That is not your heart speaking, that is not your soul speaking. That is the ego, that is fear, that is the pirates that have taken over the ship of your mind, and they've gotten so deep inside that you actually believe them. It's not true. It's not true. The day you start telling the truth, the day you start facing the stuff that you've been afraid of, that's the day you start reclaiming your life. The day you start putting the pirates to work for you, your mind to work for you, developing mastery over your mind, that's when you start taking back your life. That's when you open up to intimacy in your relationships. That's where you're more available to humanity and to the world. You can't live in your head. You can't live in the sea of thoughts that are built around lies. It's not the real you. Unplug. Take your power back from it. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, I can tell you one way for sure is you get your ass to one of our 4-day immersions. This is what we specialize in. This is what we're teaching guys how to do. Regain mastery over your own mind. Getting out of your head. Or putting those pirates to work. Because they'll work. They'll work hard if you become the leader. If you become the captain of your own ship again. So, for those of you that are interested, go to manonfirerising.com. That's manonfirerising.com. You'll see one of the tabs. You click on apply for a discovery call. That is to apply to see if you are eligible to come to one of our events. You'll fill out an application, and based on how you answer the questions, it will either accept you or it will say not at this time. Because we're looking for guys that are ready now. Not guys that want to gather more information. Not guys that say they want to change, say they want to grow, but truly aren't ready to do that. We're looking for guys that are ready to invest their time, their money, their energy, because now is the time. They're no longer willing to put this off. So yes, our coaching programs require and involve an investment on your behalf, but the investment is in yourself. The investment is in yourself that you're no longer willing to play small. You're no longer willing to tolerate being less than who God made you to be. And if you're ready to invest in yourself, yeah, of course there's a financial responsibility involved. Because right now, I'm speaking to all of you. This is free. You got me on different social platforms. And I'm sure a lot of you are like lit up by some of the information I'm giving you, but nothing's going to change. You got to get down on the field. You got to get dirty. You got to get in front of myself, my team, get vulnerable, get visible. Let us work with you. Let us push you. Let us stretch you. Let us challenge you. Let us hold you accountable to the fire of your true greatness, your true potential. That's where it's at. You're not getting this from a book. You're not getting it from a video. It'll light you up, just like watching Rocky lights you up. You do push-ups, but the next day the alarm clock goes off. You're hitting snooze. You're back to your old ways. The pirates took over. You're back in your head, destroying your life. Do you feel me on this? So this is why every week I'm so passionate about encouraging you guys to get to an immersion. Get to one of our 4-day immersions or get into one of our coaching programs. You'll have the fire, you'll have the fierceness, and you'll have the love from myself and from the team. Because we care about you guys. We know that you're built for so much more. We know that when you up level, your whole family wins, your friends win, your community wins, the whole world wins when you give the real version of yourself. When you have the courage to live into your true potential, everyone is better off because you chose to value yourself enough. You chose to invest in yourself. You chose to grow, and everyone benefits from that. So get up off the couch, put your sword in the ground, and say, today's the day. Today's the day that I'm ready to take back control from my mind. I'm done living in my head. I'm done believing these lies, this deceit. It's time for me to be the captain of my ship, me to be the master of my own mind. Click on the link. Go to the website, manonfirerising.com. Click on apply for a free discovery call. You'll speak to one of our coaches, and if you're eligible, you'll get approved on the application. And the two of you on the call will decide whether or not Man on Fire is the next best step for you. And if it's not, one of the coaches will offer you his professional recommendation as to what would be next. But please don't apply to speak to a coach because you want to just dump your problems. You're looking for therapy. It's not a therapy call. It's not a moaning session. It's not a complaining session. It's for the guy that is truly ready to take a stand for his life. He is done selling himself and his family short of who he is. It's for that guy that's ready to invest his time, his energy, and yes, is ready for a financial investment in himself. Because I promise you guys, you're spending money on something. For some of you, it's porn. For some of you, it's strip clubs. For some of you, it's jewelry and materialistic things that you no longer need or don't need or should never value to begin with. The thing you need to value the most is your growth. Man to man, I'm giving it to you straight. The thing you must value most is your growth. When you grow, everyone in your circle wins. But if you let the pirates take over, then you're not growing. You're just feeding the ego and you're prolonging. You're prolonging the emergence of your soul, the emergence of your heart, your connection with Source, your connection with God. You're prolonging it by living in your head. You're destroying your life. And I'm here to pull you back, pull you out. Be the lighthouse. Be the portal of remembrance. Call the lost souls out that are lost at sea. Call them back home. Every one of you listening right now has that ability to do that for other people. But you got to have the courage to do it for yourself first. You got to value yourself enough first. And if you value yourself enough first, then good for you. Because that's when it started changing for me and for the hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of men who have come through our program and are seeing unbelievable changes in the different domains of their life, from their health to their wealth, to their marriage, to their relationships, to getting on track with their mission and purpose. It's possible for you too. Stop believing the lies. Stop believing your mind. Start to get out of your head. Start to learn how to gain mastery over your mind. Go to manonfirerising.com and apply now for your discovery call with one of our coaches. All right, guys? I was giving it to you fiercely. I was giving it to you with a lot of emotion because it's a wake-up call. No more hiding. No more playing small. No more shrinking. No more contracting. No more regret. No more shame. No more guilt. No more unworthiness. No more being unlovable. It is time to rise. Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Because I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Yes, I'm talking to you. This is a message for you. Are you hearing it? All right, gentlemen, please, if you wouldn't mind, put into the chat, what is your greatest takeaway from today? For those of you listening that have been to a 4-day immersion, please don't just write something like, it was great, it was a life changer. I appreciate those comments, but give more vulnerability, give more depth, share more, help these other guys that have no understanding of what goes on at a 4-day immersion. Help them understand how it will totally start to turn their life around and move them in a direction where they're heading towards their potential. With so much love, with so much gratitude, with so much reverence, guys. I love each and every one of you, and I'm here to celebrate your success and your growth. It's your man on fire mentor, Dave Mailer. See you next week. Bye for now, gentlemen.